YouTube. We've got a couple of awful NES controllers to demonstrate today. Before we get started, talk you through which games we're going to test these out on. We've got the original Super Mario Brothers for NES. Figure for a little sports action, get my favorite, Blades of Steel. And then lastly, my favorite arcade style beat 'em up for the NES, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. So let's get started. First up, we have the Turbo Touch 360, which has this weird touchpad thing here. It does have the traditional B and A buttons, but also some turbo buttons. So let's see if we get some fireballs, if we can test those out. So yeah, let's get started. It's got a plastic start and select button, unlike the rubberized one from the original NES controller. Let's see how this works. It feels really weird already. It is working though, as you can see. The button's a little sticky. Yeah, I mean, it handles better than I expected. I thought this touchpad would be kind of a deal breaker, but it, strangely enough, does work fairly well. I don't know if I could do a longer or more complex game with it, but as you can see here, oh, not quite responsive there. So I didn't get a chance to get the fireballs for you to test the turbo on, but maybe on one of our other games I can test this out. But yeah, this is the Turbo Touch 360. It's a little wonky, not my favorite controller, but probably better than some of the other ones we're about to get to. So yeah, let's move on. So next we've got Konami's Blades of Steel. It's a pretty traditional hockey game. It's a lot of fun. Let's just try college level here, kind of middle of the road. Sadly, there's no Detroit in this one, but here we go. The Turbo Touch 360 and Blades of Steel. That never works. I don't know why I tried that. Fight me. Fight me. Ah. So yeah, same impressions I had for Super Mario Brothers. It's weird. That's all I can really say. It does work. I mean, try the different 8-way directions here. See how this works. Be easier if I had the puck. But the game froze up anyway. So let's move on to Ninja Turtles. See how that one works. And lastly, for the Turbo Touch 360, we're going to try Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. Let's see. Even though Raphael is my favorite, I'm going to go Leo, just because he's got the blades. This actually isn't that uncomfortable to play with. So here we got the turbo. See, it does pretty much what you'd expect. Just repeats the button, press a bunch of times. No slow mo or anything like that, but that's useless anyway. It just all that does is pauses the game repeatedly, which is more annoying than helpful in 99.9% of games. So yeah, this is handling pretty well actually. It's a weird controller. I wouldn't use it on a really technical game, but for a fun beat 'em up like this, or messing around with Blades of Steel, yeah, Mario, it's a little more precise platformer. I wouldn't mess with it with that too much. But yeah, I mean, it's let's get the job done. Kicking some foot soldier butt here. So yeah, let's move on to the next one and see how those fare by comparison. All right, now moving on, we've got the Mega by I think Bandai makes this. Yeah, Bandai, made in Japan. This takes. Let's see if I can get this open here. It's a little tough, but it does take its own batteries, like AAA batteries. It has an on and off button here. Let's turn that on. This gives us a little display here, so you can do some programmables. I still need to mess with this a little bit more to figure some things out. I know there's a slow-mo, rapid fire. You kind of save some combinations and things like that. There's actually a secret game. If you scroll to where it says game, you got to hit B and A up to I think 120 times in the amount of time they give you, which is about 20 seconds or so. And if you manage to accomplish that, there's actually a Game and Watch style game. Now I haven't been able to get it, but if you look on YouTube, just look Bandai Mega secret game. It'll probably come up and you can see it. You can kind of see here if I press on the screen, you can see possibly that there's you see the figure guys in the back. It looks like an old Game and Watch game, but yeah, it's a fun little Easter egg in this one. But let's start. Let's see how it handles normally. Got Super Mario Brothers fired up again. These buttons feel pretty similar to the OEM, and hold on, nothing's working. I think I got in some weird mode. Here we go. Now there are things like pad lock on here. So yeah, I need to find an instruction manual online, see what I can find out about this thing. There's clearly a lot of hidden modes here that aren't immediately evident. Fight me. Fight me. Ah. I'm a little rusty at Blades of Steel. It's been a while since I played. But yeah, I mean, nothing too surprising. It feels a lot like the last one. The last game that is on Mario, so I'll just move right on to Ninja Turtles, see how that feels. Nothing too surprising with this one. And last but not least, we've got Ninja Turtles 2 Arcade. And this would be a short demo because this is pretty much behaving like a regular above average backup third party controller. So yeah, let's see how Leo does here. Yep, his katanas beating up the foot soldiers, make them blow up. So yeah, it's a perfectly adequate controller if you need something for your little brother to play or something. These kind of controllers are always great for that. You can pick these up pretty cheap on eBay. I think this was $10 or less. But yeah, there's definitely some weirder ones in this box here that I'm going through. So let's just move on to the next one. This one's pretty run of the mill. Just the screen's what makes this one special, but in terms of controls, it's pretty traditional. It's what you'd expect out of a decent third party. Alright, next we've got the Gamers Tech GAMERZ TEK classic controller. This is for NES, has a regular NES port, but it looks like a Famicom controller. As you know, Famicom controllers usually come attached to the system, but it just kind of has the look and feel like the gold and the kind of the burgundy. Definitely a cheap controller. Got this for $3.99. I'm only going to test Super Mario Brothers with this because it's pretty standard layout. What we're used to. It's got the rubber buttons. Pretty much feels like just a clone of the standard OEM NES controller, just different colored buttons. So see how it handles Mario Brothers. Now let's move on to the next controller. Any of these ones that are pretty traditional layouts, I don't think we need to go through the whole test again. This actually feels pretty good. I'm a little worried because like the wires are kind of thin. I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be the longest lasting controller in my collection, but it feels good. It's comfortable in the hand. Feels a lot like the NES. And easy easier time hitting that one up than I did in the last controller. Yeah, I'll just finish this level. See if I run into any issues along the way. And got the 6. So yeah, this is a pretty decent controller. I paid $3.99 plus shipping for this. So if you see this cheap, especially if you get like Prime shipping or something like that, and just want something that looks a little different in your collection, it's honestly not bad. The wires. So for this one, this is actually a first-party controller. This was put out by NES, the NES Max by Nintendo. So the buttons for the B and A feel pretty much kind of like the OEM stock controller. Got one here. I can show for comparisons. So yeah, you see the buttons. These and these are pretty much identical. Might be a little deeper well on the Max controller. This has plastic start and select, and it's got the turbo under here. But the weird thing about this, and this is what makes it have a lot of haters online, is this weird touchpad thing. Now this one I'm actually going to test Blades of Steel with it, just to give something that's not as precise of a platformer as Super Mario Brothers. I'm sure it's going to be awful with this, but I'm going to try it here. But I really do want to see how this performs with a sports game too. So let's start with Mario, then I'll move on to Blades of Steel. And we'll call that good with that test. This one's pretty well known, so I don't feel the need to test this one too thoroughly. Most people hate it. A couple people love it. I'm kind of on the fence. I got used to the control, but it definitely had shortcomings. When you're used to the other controller, you can do your stops and turns a lot faster. Uh, Bugs. Alright, we've got Blades of Steel by Konami. Testing this out on the NES Max by Nintendo. I'm just going to go with the first teams that come up here, New York and Chicago. It's like the Rangers and Blackhawks. Doesn't look like Islanders to me. I used to play the hell out of this game as a kid. You probably wouldn't be able to tell based on how I've performed so far today. I've gotten my butt kicked. But, alright, I've got the puck here. Let's see. Uh, uh, well, I'm doing better than I did on the last two controllers. Um, yeah, this is a little odd. Not as responsive as I'd like with the switching back and forth. So the free range of motion I thought would be a benefit with a game like this, where it's not on like a linear like 2D platform. Uh, you kind of lose that benefit by not being able to stop on a dime like you'd want to in a hockey game to shift directions or deke. And I wasn't really paying attention there. That's my excuse for them scoring on me so easily again. But yeah, I think weird choice, but definitely a flop by Nintendo. I think do the same shell, put a D-pad, and you got a winner. But as it is right now, I just can't recommend this to anybody. Ready to get weird? We're about to get weird. Here we've got the quick shot for professional players. We'll see about that. I'm very amateur, but if I can't figure it out, I don't know who can. So we got auto fire, got this off by default. Start and select are actually flipped, which is kind of confusing. We got either the A or the button here, and either the A or the button here. Well, I guess we'll figure that out soon with whoever buddy gets smarter to jump. And a really clunky, hard plastic D-pad here. This thing feels like absolute garbage. It feels like someone stuck a Lego in here. But yeah, let's see how this goes. It's like a weird motorcycle grip. not sure well, clearly it's made for professional gamers, but honestly though, like who's this made for? This does not feel comfortable at all. So the thumb button here is the A button, and then the B button is barely responsive, and that's with the index finger on the back, kind of where a trigger button would be. This thing sucks. This is the worst controller I've ever used. I know there's still one left to go here that could be worse, and I think it actually might be worse. But yeah, this thing is absolute garbage. The B button barely works. The A button barely works. The D-pad barely works. That could be aged, but I doubt it. This is just a horrible design. I'm not even gonna test this on the other games. Like this thing, it's garbage. It's more of a novelty. It's kind of fun to show for your friends, I guess, or to mount on a wall. But yeah, definitely don't use this if you actually need to accomplish anything in a game, except for killing two Goombas at once, apparently. Yeah, this thing is hot garbage. I'll spare you guys the Blades of Steel and Ninja Turtles with this one. This is just not good at all. I don't think there's any practical usage for this controller. It's shaped like motorcycle controllers or something like that, like handlebars, or did they like Paperboy or something might work, or Excite Bike, but that makes sense if there's some kind of motion involved with it, but there's not. It's basically just a really oddly positioned B and A button and a really horrible, barely functional D-pad. So yeah, this. All right, last we've got this version of the Quick Shot, the QS126, made in China here. No mention of professional players for this one, but it did pass for quality control, so must be some real quality here, but not for professional gamers. So yeah, what the hell is this thing? I was wondering the same thing when I saw this on eBay, but it's $5. I figured why not? At least get a fun video out of it. But yeah, what is this thing? It's got some weird disc type thing here. It looks slightly better than the NES Max. The buttons up here. It's clearly a two-hand setup because there's no way you're gonna play this unless you like claw it like this, which looks awful. So yeah, it's got the start and select as one weird long button, and backwards from how it is on the OEM controllers. So yeah, let's see what we're dealing with here. Uh, I'm I'm scared. All right. I feel like I'm gonna get carpal tunnel syndrome playing this way. Uh, just missed getting the twofer. I mean, granted, this is an awful controller. This is also a hot garbage controller. Don't buy it unless you just want a novelty. But I will say this controls a lot better than the weird handlebar controller. So easier to get used to than that one was. Uh, the disc thing is actually pretty responsive. I'm gonna go through the whole gamut with this one and try Blades and Turtles, see how that works. So yeah, let's move on to those and see if there's a proper usage or proper home for this weird contraption. All right, we got Blades of Steel up here. This is probably gonna be horrible. I can kind of see why they put the start button here. Maybe it's supposed to be held this way. I don't know. So I guess we'll try it with both hands. Maybe it's an ambidextrous controller. And I forgot to try the auto fire on Mario with this with a fireball. So when we get turtles, I'll try that out and see if Leo can whip his katana blades around rapidly. Definitely the weirdest controller I own, I think. Figured for about the $5 or so I paid for it, it's a decent conversation piece for nothing else. Oh god, this is the worst thing about this one is it's really easy to get the buttons confused because they're not marked either. So you just kind of blindly mash buttons, hoping you get the right one. So apparently the thumb one here is the A button, which would be shoot, and then pass. I think it's this one. Oh, finally got a fight. Oh no! Ah, shit! Penalty shot. Oh, this would be a good test for the directional pads, I guess. Oh, good, saved it. I guess he didn't want to fight me back. Found the Rangers, which gonna assume that's Joey Koser, former Red Wing extraordinaire, who won a cup with the Rangers in '94. So I'll just pretend that was him, trying to pick fights, be the goon. So actually, this is A, this is B. A, B. Ah, this is a weird controller. Alright, let's try Turtles, see how that works. They don't want to fight me. They're probably just going to score me here. And another penalty shot. Let's see if I'll save this first. Then we'll throw on some Turtles. And he scored. Oh well. Alright, lastly we got our Heroes in a Half Shell, Turtle Power. Let's see how they do here with this weird ass controller thingy. I promised Leo and his katana blades again, so stick with that. Looks like this is A because it did select Leo from the menu here. I mean, I don't know. This thing is so weird. This is just uncomfortable to play. This is the worst, probably, sin of this thing. It's not that it's not responsive. It actually responds pretty well to all my inputs. Even Leo's like nodding his head no. He does not like this. So yeah, this jumps. This attacks. Let's switch hands, see if it's any better. Now it just feels backwards. It feels kind of like that Sega Master System arcade stick they came out with, where they had the stick on the right side and the buttons on the left side. Actually, no, I lied. Ignore what I just said, actually, because that makes no sense. I'm controlling this with my left thumb, as I would normally do. So I'm guessing this is probably how it's meant to be played. It's not nearly as taxing on my wrist or my carpal tunnel, but it's still weird. Watch out for the bowling ball looking things. Flatten some foot soldiers. Wow. Shell shock. Where are these coming from and who's throwing these things? I like the Pizza Hut tie-in here. I've always loved that as a weird little shameless corporate tie-in. One thing for sure, if you're in New York City, you're not going to be getting your pizza from Pizza Hut. That'd be like the last ditch effort. So yeah, I'm actually not doing too horribly here, besides getting flattened by the weird bowling ball thing a few times. But yeah, there's no way I'm gonna ever get used to playing with this normally. Maybe for like anticipation or one of those weird game show style games or board game style game. It might be. Yeah, it's weird as hell. It's as weird as it looks. Only buy it if you wanna be in for a wild experiment, but you're definitely not gonna use this for every game. This thing's pretty awful. So yeah, this is my weird collection of NES controllers.